Welcome to Nature Calls, and thank you for joining us at the Nature Conservancy in Alabama. We are 20 conservationists working together to conserve the land and water for nature and people. I'm Jessica Mitchell, Philanthropy Program Associate with TNC Alabama, and Nature Calls is our virtual field trip where we share a new conservation project or program in Alabama each month on the second Thursday at 3 p.m. Before we start today's program, I want to share a few housekeeping items. First, we are recording this Zoom program and we are muting your microphone. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, we ask that you use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. This makes it easier for our presenter to manage the questions and answers at the end of the presentation. This program is approximately 15 minutes long with another 15 minutes for questions and answers at the end. And now I am pleased to introduce our Conservation Associate, Georgia Pearson, who will tell us how she supports all of our conservation programs through mapping and data analysis. Georgia, take it away.
Hi, I'm Georgia Pearson. Thank you all for taking the time to visit with us today and for allowing me to tell you a little about my work and how I support TNC's mission to conserve the lands and waters on which all life depends. And I am going to share my screen with you guys real quick. Okay. Okay, can you guys see that? Awesome. So my formal title is Conservation Associate, but a more descriptive title would be Geographic Information Systems Specialist. Generally, I'm a cartographer, a map maker, and a data analyst. I have been employed by TNC since January of 2020 and worked here previously from 2008 to 2012 in the same capacity. I'm a part-time TNC employee and a full-time mom. A little about myself. I have a husband, Will Pearson. He's in this picture on the top right. My two children are Penny Rose and William. I have one dog named Noodles and 5 chickens that you see the bottom of this picture. My education and professional background is in forest ecology. I received a Bachelor of Science in Biology and a minor in Religion from Millsaps College in Jackson, Mississippi. And I earned a Master's in Resource Ecology from Duke University's Nicholas School of the Environment in Durham, North Carolina. I love being with my family and my friends. I enjoy nature, pottery, and reading. As Conservation Associate, I am here to support all teams within TNC Alabama, but currently my support has focused within the conservation area, specifically land protection, which if you guys know Steve Northcutt, he is the person that works to establish new preserves or purchase new lands. The Freshwater team and the Stewardship team, which manage the lands that we own or help manage lands owned by other partners. During our time today, I will go through several projects I have worked on for these teams to give you an idea of how I support them. For protection in all teams, I create maps that help the chapter tell the story of a specific preserve or landscape. And in this example, I have created a map of the Nature Conservancy Sharp Bingham Mountain Preserve in Northeast Alabama, Jackson County. To give viewers an idea of the landscape of this preserve and the area around it, I made sure to provide layers that accentuate the preserve's green forests, mountainous terrain, pastoral valleys, rivers, roads, and neighboring protected lands. When I work with protection, I know they are always looking at potential new lands to protect and projects through the lens of what is the most valuable piece of landscape to protect, or most valuable pieces of landscape to protect. This is a real busy map, but this map has a base layer known as our resilient and connected landscapes layer. It shows us the areas that will give plants and animal species the best habitat to potentially migrate through in response to climate change. We use this information to inform our decision making when looking for new places to purchase land or help protect. We also look at potential new land protection projects through the lens of what is the most valuable pieces of the landscape. This is another example of how I assist land protection and identifying new lands for conservation. We research land for TNC protection, but we also assist our state, federal, and nonprofit partners. This visualization is laying out potential new lands neighboring already conserved lands. So from this map of the Little River Canyon, you can see that we are looking at lands that are adjacent to already federally protected lands, which are in the brown, state protected lands, which are in the blue, and then your privately owned lands are in purple. And then I have given some extra information about some privately owned lands in red. For the freshwater team, a cool example of what I currently am collaborating with them on is prioritization of stream bank restoration sites to reduce sediment erosion into our 4 priority watersheds. These priority watersheds are the Paint Rock River, which you see here, and it lies within Jackson County, Alabama, in northeast Alabama, the Locust Fork River, Big Canoe Creek, and the Cahaba River. In order to prioritize these stream bank sites, our freshwater team goes out in the field in canoes and collects raw data, such as how far roots grow into the bank, what kind of rock or soil the bank is made of, and how much vegetation grows along the bank. This raw data can then be plugged into a set of established equations that can help pinpoint which stretches of stream bank to focus restoration efforts on. These equations have been created by hydrologists, which are folks that study the movement of water in the landscape. This is where I can be extremely helpful. As you can see from this professional Dr. Seuss style drawing of my part of the process, I have created this red magic machine, which represents a standard and repeatable process of calculating sediment erosion rates specific to each river. Using the raw data collected in the field, this and the hydrology equations mentioned earlier, this process I have created is a way of processing the data that makes it take less time and reduces the chances of making calculation errors. So as you can see from the picture, I have my little blocks of raw data, my hydrology equations. They go into this magic machine and they pop out this perfect little present of restoration sites. So in reality, what it ends up looking like, and I know that you guys are not going to be able to actually see the details, but this is a flow diagram of what I have created inside the magic red box that helps us find these restoration sites. So if you remember this picture from earlier of the Paint Rock River main stem, it looks like this. And after we run the raw data through our calculation process, we come up with a visualization that looks like this. It's the same river with highlighted stretches that are at most risk of erosion. You can see those areas in red on this map. These will be the areas our freshwater team will then start looking at for potential restoration sites. This is a wonderful and fun example of how my work can really enhance the efforts of others in our state chapter. Moving along to how I assist the stewardship program. This map is of the Weguffka State Forest in green and the other surrounding protected lands that lie within Coosa County, Alabama. The black shapes that you see here are called burn units. Our stewardship team created these burn units in order to safely apply prescribed burns to this area that ecologically needs fire to flourish and historically would benefit from natural wildfires. In order to make sure that all the folks who will be on the ground burning know exactly what needs to happen in the safest manner, I create detailed maps of each burn unit that they will then use out in the field when applying fire. This map is an example of all the information the fire team needs to know while conducting a prescribed fire. They need to know where to apply the fire, which is in green dots, what boundaries exist to stop the fire, such as roads, streams, and constructed ditches. Those are all symbolized differently on this map. The team can download this map onto their phone and are able to see where they are in relation to all these structures in real time during their prescribed burns. In addition, I make maps like this one that estimate where, within a 0.5-mile radius, smoke is likely to travel outside the boundary of the prescribed burns. These maps are helpful so that the fire team can contact neighboring landowners ahead of time to let them know why they will be seeing smoke and to not panic. As you can see, safety is always very important and in the forefront of the stewardship team's thoughts. Let's see here. I also help organize our TNC timber sales by creating maps that show the exact oops, let me get that. There you go. Here's the map I was looking for. Creating maps that show the exact boundaries of where to cut timber and where to not cut timber. The maps are used when communicating ahead of the sales to contractors, and they are also used during the process of cutting timber to make sure they know where to start and stop cutting. Lastly, I work closely with the stewardship team on documenting the few wildfires that occur on our properties. This map shows in orange the areas burned in 2019 through a wildfire on Splinter Hill Bog, which is in Baldwin County, Alabama. That map you saw previously is Splinter Hill Bog as well. That concludes my presentation for you today. I really enjoyed the process of putting this information together and presenting it to each of you. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little more about what makes our organization tick. If you have any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them for you.
Georgia, that was awesome.
Thank you.
There are a few questions that I had sent to me. The first is, this is only tangentially related to what you're talking about, but do you know why we would be doing timber cutting on our preserves?
Yes, so that last map that you saw is the Splinter Hill Bog, and there are certain types of trees and plants, specifically loblolly pines, that were planted in that area that they would like to convert the area from loblolly to its more natural longleaf pine stands. So they would cut the loblolly and then replant in longleaf and manage it for long-term ecological restoration of that longleaf.
Perfect. And also we just got a comment from Mary Elizabeth saying that this was wonderful.
Thank you.
Another question that was sent over to me is, do you start with existing maps and then add the info from the data and the algorithms on top of it? Or does your map get built out by the data points you're given?
Is this, I'm wondering if this is related to that freshwater example that I was talking about. Maybe. So what the part of the data that's collected out in the field is actually location data as well. So in addition to, hey, we're looking at the side of the stream bank and seeing what kind of root depth there is and all that kind of stuff, we're also drawing a line with a GPS unit to let us know where that information is in space. So when I get that information, there's a spreadsheet of all that raw data that's associated with each little segment of that line. And so those that raw data and those equations come together hundreds of times because there are hundreds of little line segments. And so that's why it's so important and useful for this flow process that I've created, because then we don't have to actually do that by hand calculation hundreds of times. We fit it into this flow chart. It knows to crank through every single one of those data points, and it's a real efficient way of processing that data and visualizing it.
That's awesome. And another one was, do you work with other agencies when you're doing this work? Is there partners that TNC has, or?
So yeah, a lot of the general map making that I do is in coordination with federal agencies and state agencies and things like that. So I'm looking back at my slides, and so that Little River map, I don't know if y'all remember that, but that was a federal agency came to the Nature Conservancy and said, hey, we've got some funds that have just become available to us, and we have to use it on land protection, and we have to use it near Little River Canyon. So I'm not contracted out to other agencies and nonprofits, but when we have a partnership already there, then I am there to help foster that project or that process.
Fantastic. Another question we have is, have you made a map of Red Hills? I think the Red Hills is something that a lot of us in TNC Alabama love. I didn't know if you had a chance to work on that at all.
So in the last 6 months or so, I have not worked on the Red Hills. And actually, when I worked for TNC previously, I don't know if y'all noticed, I worked for TNC previously, like 2008 to 12. And that was when the Red Hills were just kind of starting to get on our radar. So I did make some maps of the Red Hills then, but it was a while ago.
Fair enough. And what program do you use to organize that data? In other words, what is the Magic Red Machine?
What is the Magic Red Machine? So all of the maps that I make, as well as that data analysis that you saw, is all made in what's called ArcGIS, which is an Esri product. So it's a product that all the folks at TNC use to help them do both cartography and data analysis.
Very exciting. All right, well, I am not seeing any other questions, so last call. And okay, I'm gonna call it right there. Well, thank you so much, Georgia. You did a great job, and I especially loved your drawing.
Thank you.
And thank you for telling us about GIS and your data analysis work.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks for letting me chat with you guys today.
We're really glad that we got to have you. We're grateful that you're on our team.
I'm happy to be here.
If our audience has any additional questions about this particular work that we do or any of our other projects, you can email us at philanthropy.alabama@tnc.org. All right. Finally, no matter what is happening in the world, our work continues uninterrupted. Conservation never stops. We need your support to keep our conservationists in the field, to keep Georgia mapping their data, and doing the important work for people and for nature. Please donate to the Nature Conservancy in Alabama. It's easy. You can send us a brief email to philanthropy.alabama@tnc.org, and we will reply with a link for our online donations or guide you to sending your donation via the Postal Service. Thank you in advance for making a tax-deductible financial contribution. And you can invite someone to join you for the next nature calls that will be in November. Just forward the invitation that you received to your email inbox, or you can share their contact information with us and we will add them to our invite list and send out that invite on your behalf. Again, thank you everyone for joining us for Nature Calls today.